Welcome to the next preview note called The Alphabet and Grammar of Geometry. Please note both the location and the date and time that you are watching this, and don't forget to get a parent, teacher, or guardian sign-off. Before we get started on the new lesson, what I'd like you to do is take 3 minutes, and I'd like you to graph both these lines. You can use y equals mx plus b, you can use intercepts, but I'd like you to attempt to graph these lines, flip back in your notes for examples as necessary. Please don't just wait for me to demonstrate how to do this. I'd like you to take 3 minutes, do this on your own. If you finish before 3 minutes, just fast forward until my explanation. You have 3 minutes. Okay, so here we are. We have y equals 5/3 x minus 7. So right underneath, I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. And I see that my b is -7, so I'm going to start right here at -7. My slope is a positive slope, so just make a mental note. We have to go up from left to right. My rise is 5. My run is 3. So I'm going to rise 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to run 3. 1, 2, 3. I could have dropped 5 if I wanted to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and gone over 3 this way. 1, 2, 3. If you notice, you'll end up with the exact same line. So this blue line is our first one. Okay, for the second one, I'm going to go ahead and use intercepts. 0 blank, and then blank 0. If I put a 0 in the x, I just say goodbye to it, so I have 3y equals 4. If I divide both sides by 3, I'm going to end up with y equals positive 4. Then I come over here and I have a 0 in the y component, so I say goodbye to that. I have 6x equals 12, so x equals 2. I graph those two components. 0, 4 is up here. That's 0, 4. And 2, 0 is right here. So for this line right here, it's going to look like this. You could have also changed it to y equals mx plus b. You should have gotten the same thing. All right, now today is probably one of the absolute most important lessons of today. When you learn to read, the first thing you do is you learn the alphabet. And then you figure out the grammar rules, how to put the letters together. And you get words, then sentences, and the like. In geometry, we're going to learn the grammar and the alphabet today. Here's our basic alphabet. Point, line, ray, segment, plane. We're also going to talk about a concept called dimensions. We live in a world of 3 dimensions: length, width, height. Now in physics, you may learn about the 4th dimension, which is considered time, and some people theorize that the 5th dimension would be the spiritual or the unseen realm that in which God inhabits. But for our uses and purposes, we're going to talk about a world of 3D, or 3 dimensions. Sometimes the 4th dimension is considered time. So let's just briefly recap these dimensions. In the first dimension is things that only have length. Only have length. That's considered 1 dimension. So think of a piece of string that your cat would play with. It's 1 dimension. The second dimension is things that have length and width. Imagine the piece of paper that you are holding that has length and width. Technically it has a little bit of height, but we're going to use it as a model for 2 dimensions, length and width. The third dimension is essentially anything you can put your hands physically around. That is length, width, and height. When we measure units in the first dimension, we use singular units, such as centimeters. When we work in the second dimension, we use squared units, such as centimeters squared. When we work in the third dimension, we use cube units, which would be centimeters cubed. For the first semester of geometry, we're going to limit ourselves almost exclusively to the first and second dimension. Almost. Let me introduce to you the alphabet of geometry. Point. We represent a point by a dot. The symbol for all points is a capital letter. Must be capital. So if I want to talk about point A, I must use a capital letter. I cannot use a lowercase letter for points. So remember to use a capital letter, not a lowercase. So draw a lowercase and cross it out. So for point A, you must use a capital letter. Dimensions. Technically a point, it does not have length, it does not have width, it does not have height. So dimensions for a point is going to be 0, Technically, it's not there. It's a placeholder. It has no length, no width, no height. A line. Now in art, if you were to go like that, in art, that may be considered a line, but in geometry, a line must have arrows, which establishes it goes on to infinity in either direction. I'd like you to go ahead, and we're going to put 3 points on this line. P, Q, and R. Now the symbol for a line, you only need 2 points to distinguish a line. Only 2 points. So I could technically name this using this symbol. You use 2 of the points, doesn't matter which one. I can use PQ, and then I draw a little baby line above it. Now the direction doesn't matter either. I could go this way. I could call the same exact line RP with a little baby line above it. Notice I'm using only 2 letters. I can use any 2 letters. I could even use RQ here. When you name a line, you only use 2 letters, even if there's multiple points on it. So remember, go ahead and come over here. If you do PQR here with a line, go ahead and draw that, and then cross it out. Tell yourself, if you have multiple points on a line, you don't use multiple points. You only use 2 of the points to name the whole line. So these 3 names all name this line right here. Now, a faster way to name a line is if you use a lowercase cursive letter. Now, warning, this is not a point. It's called the name of the line. For example, I could put way over here, right at the corner, a cursive M, and that lowercase cursive M names the whole line, and I just write it like this, line M. That is also a proper way. Now a line has only length, like a piece of string. It only has length, so we would call it one dimension. A line only has length. Now a segment is simply a piece of a line. So let's draw a segment here. Use the same example. Notice I removed the arrows. Now careful, the letters do matter here. You name segments by both the letters and the portions between letters. So I'm going to color code this. If you have 3 different colors, I highly recommend you get those out. I'm going to pause. If you have colors, get them out, because I want to demonstrate something in colors here. Now if I want to name this distance from here to there, notice I have it in green, whatever color you're using, that segment, that's a piece of a line, PQ, I go like this. I go PQ and I put a segment. Notice no arrows. That's a piece of a line. Or I could call that QP. It doesn't matter which direction. If I want this segment, I would call that QR or RQ. If I want this whole segment, I could call that P to R or R to P. You use only 2 letters with no arrows, because segments are pieces of lines. This only has length, so again, it's one dimension. Now a segment is a piece of a line. A ray is also a piece of a line. let's draw the same example here. If you're left-handed, you can tilt this the other way. So I have PQR, but I'm going to extend. A ray is basically a portion of a line going one direction only. So notice I only have one arrow. Now to name this ray, I can use multiple portions. I only need 2 letters. All of these would be correct. I could call this ray PR. And I put the ray to the right. I can name the same ray here QR. Okay, now very important, you always put the end point on the left and the arrow portion on the right. I cannot name this ray. So what I'm about to show you goes over here. Remember this. I cannot call this ray RP like that because R is not the end point. P is the end point. And you always put the end point on the left. So put RP there and then put a, don't do this symbol. Rays, like segments and lines, also only have length, so they are one dimension. So our alphabet so far is point, line, segment, ray. Our last one is a plane. Now planes are made up of 3 or more connecting points, 3 or more connecting points. So let me give you an example here. We're going to call this JKLM. I'd like you to put points there and connect it. JKLM. This tabletop is going to represent a plane. I'm going to redraw that tabletop here. JKLM. Really important, when you name planes with points, you must go exactly counterclockwise or clockwise. Notice I went J, trace with me, J to K to L to M. Do you see that's clockwise? I could have named the same plane like this, J, K, L, M. Could have gone like this as well, counterclockwise, that's fine. What you cannot do is name planes zigzag. You cannot name planes zigzag across the plane. For example, let's put this in what you can name this. And you only need 3 letters to name a plane. So let me give you an example of what's correct. I'll do what's correct in blue. I could name this plane, this tabletop, like so. I could call it plane JKL. Now what happened to the M? You only need 3 points to name a plane. Just like you only need 3 legs on a stool to make it settle flat. So I can call it plane JKL. I could call it plane JKLM. That's clockwise. Down here, also correct. I could call it plane JKLM this way. I could go this way as well. Plane JMLK. That's counterclockwise. That's perfectly fine. All 3 of those work. Another way you can name a plane, this is a shortcut, is you can name a plane by a single letter, cursive, capital, in the upper right-hand corner. It's kind of like this M here, except here the letter is lowercase. For planes, we make them uppercase. So I could call this, if I wanted to, using cursive, I could call this, let's say, plane H if I wanted to. It's a single letter cursive uppercase. Plain H. Now what I cannot name this plane would be this. I'm going to do this. Just trace with me in red. Just write these letters, please. M, L, J, K. Write those letters down. It's better if you feel why this is wrong, okay? Put your pencil on M. Go to L. Go to J. Go to K. Do you see that you have a zigzag here? You cannot name planes with a zigzag. You have to go clockwise or counterclockwise. So this would be a no-no. Planes have both length and width. So planes are 2 dimensions. Now I'm going to give you an example. It's really important when you do these examples. If you have a highlighter, I would highlight key terms as we do this. That's called filtering. Step number 1, I'm going to teach you a technique called finger track and read. Please follow my instructions. Ready? It says finger track and read. I'd like you to put your finger physically on the paper at the word draw. Now as I read, I'd like you to track with your finger along these roads and read aloud with me. That's called finger tracking and reading. It helps you make sure you don't lose track of details. Ready? Okay. Finger track and read with me. Draw a line PQR with array PT and array QM. Okay, so that's called finger tracking. Now, we're going to filter, which means we're going to break this down piece by piece. We have here, we have a line PQR, we have array PT, and another array QM. As we account for these, you cross things out. That's called filtering. Now we're going to cross out. So we're going to draw a line PQR. So we have a line that has 3 points on it, PQ and R. Doesn't really matter how you space them, P, Q, R. It's a line. After you establish something, you want to cross it out. Okay, we've accounted for that. I'm going to cross it out. Now we're going to draw array PT. Now, very important. You see that same P there? If I repeat a letter in the same problem, it means the same point. So just note, if you have the same letter, it is the same point. So when you see P there, it's this P that you already have. So we want to draw another ray starting with P going towards T. Now it really doesn't matter which direction. I can go like that if I wanted to. PT. I could go like that. PT. Technically I could even go this way. PT. All 3 of those would be acceptable. So that you're not confused, I'm going to erase the multiple versions here. Okay, so we have PT. Cross it out. Now we have ray QM. Remember? Same letter, same point. That's the same Q. Now I introduce a new letter M. Again, it doesn't matter which way you go. I could do QM this way. I could do QM this way. I can even add M to the same direction as R, and that technically would be array as well. All 3 of those would be fine. And then you cross it out. Okay, what were the steps? You finger track and read aloud. That's the first step. Then you filter, and then you attempt to draw things. And as you draw stuff, you cross it out. Let's follow that same process here. Finger track and read. Ready? Put your finger there where it says draw. I'd like you to track with your finger and read aloud with me, please. Draw a segment EF intersecting a line BC at point F on plane WXYZ. Now we're going to filter. We have a segment EF intersecting a line BC at point F. Notice that F is the same point on a plane WXYZ. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. We have a segment EF. So segment means no arrows. We have E and we have F. Okay, I've accounted for that. I'm going to cross it out. Intersecting a line. We have a line here. That means we must have arrows. We have 2 points, B and C. Doesn't matter which direction I did those. The line and the segment cross at F. Whoops. I wanted you to know I do not put F here and F here. So technically, I wanted to show you that you can't have 2 different points. When it says F, it has to be at that original F. So that was an example for you to understand when it talks about F, it has to be the same point. So it says BC intersects EF at F. So here's BC. It's a line. And all of this takes place on a plane or a tabletop WXYZ. So I'm just going to draw like a tabletop all around it. Now it doesn't matter where I start that W. Just to mess with your brain, I'm going to put it over here on the right rather than the left. And you must either go clockwise or counterclockwise. W, X, Y, Z. Okay, your turn. Really important. I'd like you to hit the pause button, attempt to draw this, then restart the video. Ready? Pause and draw. Okay, welcome back. Let's see how you did here. It says, step 1 is to finger track and read. That means you put your finger right here, and we're going to read it out loud and track. It says, draw a plane Q with the line AB also on plane Q. Also a line Q intersects line AB at point R. Okay, finger track and read. We're done with that. Now we do what's called filtering. One step at a time. We have a plane Q. We have a line AB on the same plane Q. Then I introduce another line Q intersecting line AB at point R. So those are all your pieces. Let's see if you interpreted this correctly. First off, we have a plane Q. So I'm going to draw a tabletop. Because that Q is cursive, it means it's not a point, so you don't put it on the end. You just name it right there in the upper right-hand corner. As you account for things, we're going to cross it out. And we have a line on the plane AB. Doesn't matter how you position it, it's a line. You must have arrows, and AB must be capital letters. Line Q intersects, that means it crosses AB at point R. So now we have an additional point, R, and we have a line Q. Now it doesn't matter how this line exactly intersects, but what does matter is 1, you must have arrows, and 2, because that's lowercase, that's not a point, so no dots. You just put a lowercase q right at the end there. That names the whole line. Now you go back And we're going to read it one more time and see if everything fits. We have a plane Q with a line AB on plane Q. Line Q intersects AB at point R. And we're done. Check your diagram, see if it's similar. We're going to do more of these in class.